The goal of therapy is that the person should not come back to you in future again with new problem. I strongly feel that you can withstand family pressure and social pressure once your partner is standing by with you.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's not impossible either.
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Maternity is a fact even today. Paternity is faith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like, अरे तो नाटक करिए क्या है ये कहीं से तो इंटरनेट से देख के आई है and then you're just telling me.
He needs to control her. He needs to control her movement. He needs to control her body.
Okay.
Because how does he know that the children she is producing is not his or is his? And then he'll be feeding somebody else's child. Right? Yeah. Sounds amusing, but that's where the whole thing came in. You know, that's evolution. There is no non-working woman in this world. There never has been.
Yeah.
Give me an example of one woman in any part of history who has never done any work. Self-care क्यों? आप तो घर में ही हो.
Yeah.
You know?
क्या ज़रूरत है?
Yeah. Self-care makes sense when you are newly married or you're just about to be married and you have to impress people and stuff, or you're going out.
Yeah.
But if you're in the house, then what's self-care? Then child is your priority, and who else will look after the child? Because he's the provider. Single men are, having babies of their own. That's still an act of mothering, na? They're still taking care of the child. Couples use children.
Okay.
And then children grow up with the guilt and trauma of मेरी वजह से मम्मी डैडी में problem हुआ. It's the other way around. But they grew up with that trauma, because they make the child believe.
Yeah. My growing career and motherhood, how would I know that I'm ready? Like, what questions can I ask myself to know that, okay, I am ready for motherhood? What's your mood today? How?
Feeling good and also excited and slightly nervous, but happy, yeah.
Just to give us like a brief, like what do you do?
Right, so I'm a clinical psychologist by qualification and I've been a teacher.
Okay.
I've been an associate professor of psychology for 30 years of my life in degree college. And very recently I opted out. I took a voluntary retirement and now I freelance. So I conduct workshops on mental health and well-being. Workshops in government institutions for staff, for students, for non-teaching staff, corporates.
Okay.
I write articles. I go in for seminars. Right, invited speaker. So very eclectic activities. And this is a new experience now. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a lot of misconception when it comes to like psychologists and therapists. Everybody feels like they both are same. Is there any difference between both of them?
No, not really. But not every psychologist is a therapist for the simple reason that psychology, like any other field, has numerous compartmentalization, specializations, right? So just like you would have a cardiologist and an ophthalmologist who are completely different in their fields.
Yeah.
Similarly, we would have an industrial psychologist. We would have a clinical psychologist. We would have a counseling psychologist. Experimental and so on, right? Major therapy work is done by counseling psychologist and clinical psychologist because they are the ones who will see patients suffering from mental illnesses. An industrial psychologist works mainly in industrial setup, with corporate setup, largely with personnel or HR department. A sports psychologist works with athlete. So there is not much place of therapy over there. But they will be required to do some amount of counseling, but not hardcore therapy. Therapy is what you do with patients suffering from very severe mental disorders. Then there are standardized procedures. You have to diagnose first of all. You need to administer a psychometric test to find out exactly what it is and why it is. And then comes therapy, which is a very standardized procedure. So a clinical psychologist would be trained in that. Yeah.
And do you think everybody needs therapy?
No.
No?
Many times what happens is there is something called as, auto-counseling. Like, I'll give you an example. A lot of my students, when they go through personal turmoils and they're confused about things, they try to deal with it on their own. And then when they finally realize that I'm not able to do it, they decide to call me up. Now, once they decide and actually making a call, again, there'll be a time gap. A few days maybe. Should I not? I know this because they tell me. कितनी बार phone हाथ में लिया और फिर रख दिया. Eventually they'll call me up, and then we fixed a date, Now what happens in this entire process is 100 times they have rehearsed. What will I tell her?
Yeah.
And what words will I use? What feelings will I express? What will I talk about other people?
Yeah.
Now, this entire process itself is therapeutic.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, a lot many times students tell me, ma'am, जब से मैंने आपको phone किया ना कि आपसे बात करनी है, surprisingly तभी से अच्छा लगता है. And they feel I'm magic. I'm not magic. Okay? सिर्फ आपसे बात करके अच्छा. It's not me. It's just that they've gone through the process so many times that they have, so many pictures are now clear to them.
Yeah.
They have understood so many things.
Yeah.
So by the time they finally come to me, there is already a lot of clarity. Whatever जो बचा है, I help them out. You know, so it is like auto counseling.
Okay.
You know? So yeah, but not everybody knows about this. So many times we need to train people.
Okay.
You know, so that's why we use techniques like journaling. Write down, you know, note down and stuff like that. There are many other techniques. So once you teach them, they are able to. In fact, the goal of therapy is that the person should not come back to you in future again with new problem. That means you have not done your job well. You know, you have to equip them with skills which will help them in future with numerous other problems. You know?
Yeah.
That is a successful therapy.
I think which doesn't happen. Like you keep on going again and again. Where you're not getting answers.
That could happen. There could be sort of, you know, therapy addiction. You know, that could be just laziness. Why work on my problems when I can just pay money and, you know, that person can do it for me?
Yeah.
Okay, or you just enjoy. But in my opinion, I feel it is just very strong craving for being heard.
Yeah.
No, you keep repeating therapy sessions even when you feel you don't need it. It means you really lack somebody who gives you that connect.
Oh,
no?
Yeah.
I mean, if I already had somebody who was ready to give me an empathic hearing, you know, just hold my hand, just listen to what I'm saying without judging, you know, without shutting me down. I think in many cases that's more than enough. A lot many times they just need somebody to talk to, somebody to listen.
Yeah.
So,
Actually never thought about it. In that way.
Yeah. So that still serves the purpose. That's okay. As long as the person feels comfortable when the person walks out of the clinic. That's important.
What we are like trying to do with Sukoon is a lot of girls like me, they are very confused about motherhood, the whole journey, and there's literally, like you said, they need someone who they can sit with and talk and discuss and without judgment, like free of judgments, nobody shutting them down.
Right.
And I discuss this with like a lot of my friends who are at the same age group.
Right.
They tell me ki, who do I talk to? I don't know. Like I'm not feeling maternal enough.
Right.
Does that make me like not a woman in a complete sense? Because it said ki woman ka journey should be that she has to feel this thing. If you're not feeling this thing, then that means something is wrong with you.
Missing,
Yeah. So is there this not feeling maternal enough? Is this true? And how can you deal with it, and how do you explain this to people?
It is very much true. It is very much true. In fact, on one of the very popular social media platforms very recently, there was a survey where the question asked was, name that one thing which society strongly expects from you, but you absolutely don't want to go in for it. Okay, and it was a gender neutral question thrown in for everybody. The number one response that we got was from girls who said motherhood. No, society expects motherhood from us, but we just don't feel like we want to become mothers. Maybe later on they will, but at that moment they didn't. So that was the number one response. So this feeling is very common, in fact, more than what we have been made to understand, that it's not a natural instinct. Okay. And if it is a natural instinct, then it is not gender specific. It runs across both the genders, you know. Men can also have this strong desire to nurture. And now we are seeing a lot of single men who don't want to marry, don't want a partner, but they still want to become fathers, and they are becoming. Law is now allowing them, right? So that means there's strong instinct to nurture another human being is not gender specific.
Wow, when you put it that way, because a lot of female don't feel that, and you are like literally forced that if you're not feeling, you're incomplete.
True. That comes from a lot of gender stereotypes of, you know, man is a provider and woman is a giver of birth and a nourisher. You know,
Yeah.
typical stereotype which has come down to us from centuries together. Then not to forget the role of, media platforms and films and, again, that portrayal of a complete woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is absolutely all right if a woman doesn't feel like becoming a mother, and she never ever becomes out of choice. Out of choice.
Yeah.
Perfectly
But
okay.
if you decide not to be a mother, then again the society looks down at you.
Bilkul. Yes.
How do you deal with that?
This comes much later.
Okay.
The first question is, ask a girl who decides, I don't want to get married at all. The first pressure starts from there. Why are you not getting married?
Yeah.
There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So she has already succumbed to one pressure. And then immediately, she's barely, adjusted in that new life. And immediately comes the next pressure of, okay, so when is the good news coming?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, this is, if she has never been having these maternal instincts, and if she is clear that I don't want to become a mother, at least now. Okay, I need some more years. Or she's confused. Okay. I strongly believe then she should declare, this with her partner,
Okay.
if not with the rest of the family. Maybe not, but definitely partner, because he or she, whoever the partner is, definitely has a right to know.
Yeah.
Because it's after all a partnership thing.
Yeah.
So they definitely deserve to know. So she should put her cards on the table. Okay, this is it. See, I strongly feel that you can withstand family pressure and social pressure once your partner is standing by with you.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's not impossible either.
Yes.
Once your partner understands and supports you, it's easier to deal with the pressure. Pressures will be there. They are also, at the mercy of what they have been conditioned.
Yeah.
Can't blame them actually. That's what they grew up listening to. These are the films they saw. These are the stories they read. So you can't blame them for their judgment.
Yeah.
They are also victims of conditioning in a way.
Yeah.
And then don't forget, the family is also pressurized by the extended family, neighbors, society. Aapki bahu kab good news suna rahi hai.
Yes.
So the mother-in-law may not really want, she may not really be interested in interfering.
Right.
But then she's pressurized by others.
The society.
Yeah. So each one is a victim.
Yeah.
Each one is a victim.
Yeah.
I strongly believe if the support system is there from your partner, it's perfectly all right.
But most of the reasons that, like, these days even marriages are getting tough because of this reason. When a girl in the first or the second meeting, she says that I don't want to have kids right now, and
True.
then the partner is like, if you don't want it right now, that means maybe you never want it, and then I want it, and there's like a lot of confusion in that, and these days even marriages are getting tough.
Bilkul. Yes.
So what do you think, like, how can we solve this? Like, if I'm not feeling right now, communication is the only answer.
Right. And yes, you're right. If she's not feeling like having a child right now, there is no guarantee she's going to suddenly change her feelings after 2 or 5 years. She may never want to become.
And I think marriages fail because of that, because he's like, अच्छा अभी तुमको शायद नहीं feel हो रहा है, but maybe later on.
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Put all your cards on your table.
Yeah.
No, right in the beginning, your cards should be there. That right now I'm not feeling. I don't guarantee about future. Perhaps I'll never. That's also probably one of the reasons why a lot of young girls are, in their youth, they are saving their ova.
Yeah.
Their eggs,
Freezing
this
their
whole,
eggs,
they are saving it for future.
Yeah.
Many of them never use it. Many of them never use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And many of them just then later on either ask to destroy it or give it away for, surrogacy. So, because at that moment it is difficult even for her to decide what course her life is going to take, and so it's very difficult to put that onus of responsibility on the woman. It's unfair actually.
Yeah.
Particularly if she's in young 20s or something, mid 20s also.
Yeah.
It's too much. If she's confused, then. But after 5 years, will you be ready? How will she know whether she'll be ready?
Yeah.
Like everything else, na?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do in my life after 5 years. So motherhood.
It's a very big responsibility.
Very big thing. Yeah. So if she makes all this clear, and if he's still okay with it, he really has to be God for that. But but we do see couples who are,
with that.
Yeah. Particularly if he's also not of a, someone having strong nurturing instincts. Then it works well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works well. Yeah. A lot of couples mutually decide we are not in that phase, and that's okay.
Yeah. Like you said, this thing about the girl will communicate this with the partner.
Right,
They
right,
agree. But
right.
then, like you said, the mother-in-law, maybe she also doesn't want it, but the society is pressurizing
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Or like the girl's mother, like
Yeah.
she is pressurizing her. No, you have to do it. You have
Yes,
to do it.
yes.
But this whole thing about a woman who cannot have control over her own body, she doesn't has right over her own body.
Yeah.
Like from the time she is born,
Yes.
tab se the authority on her body is by the society.
Somebody else.
It's
Yes,
never
yes,
taken
yes.
onus by her.
Right.
Why is it so? Like, why is,
Okay, so...
where does this come from?
Okay, it comes from around 10,000 years ago
Okay.
when agricultural society came in. Okay, see, before that, when we were, hunter-gatherers, there was complete gender equality.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody had to go out in the jungle in the morning, search for food. Okay, you have to fight with animals, face the dangers equally, and bring back the food and you eat.
Yes.
So, complete gender equality. When agriculture came in and we settled down,
Yeah.
then that's where the ownership came in. Up till then, there was no ownership. Okay, you didn't own anything. You didn't own land. You didn't have a house to own. You didn't own anything. Right. Once we settled down with agriculture, ownership came in. This is my piece of land, but who's going to own it? Right. So that's when man stood up. No, again, it was a result of too many circumstances coming together. We don't know. I mean, I'm not even blaming men for it. No, for whatever reason, but somehow ownership fell on the shoulders of men.
Right.
So man becomes a master of the piece of land. Then he becomes a master of, the house they live in.
Yeah.
And that's where the family system came in. Earlier, there was no family system also when we were just hunter-gatherers, okay? So then we had the system of one man, one woman, my child, okay? Now, in those times, early times, maternity is a fact even today. Paternity is faith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Today, we have technology to, prove paternity. But we didn't.
Yeah.
How does he prove?
Yeah.
So then he needs to control her. He needs to control her movement. He needs to control her body.
Okay.
Because how does he know that the children she is producing is not his or is his? And then he'll be feeding somebody else's child. Right? Yeah. Sounds amusing, but that's where the whole thing came in. That's evolution. That's how evolution happened. So he had to control. I mean, I'm not justifying. I'm just saying that what if a man wants to be sure that the children produced by this woman living in my house are my children, what other option did he have but to control her movements? So you will not go out alone. You will not go out alone at night. You'll not stay away from me for too long. Ensuring that, especially in her reproductive years. Ensuring that every child she produces is my child. So that's where slowly he became the master of her life, her decisions, her body.
Right.
And then it continued. The patriarchy just kept on growing and growing, and it continued. And here we are. Right, so it started with men, but then immediately it extended to his family and then larger society, and through those years of patriarchy, what freedom did women have? Forget maternity and getting married and all that. Even otherwise, what freedom did she have? She never had a choice of what clothes she'll wear, where she'll go, whom she'll talk to, how long she'll stay out, whom she'll marry. In any case, she had no option. So this, of course, I mean, you think society which closes all doors on her will suddenly give her this freedom of choice of you decide when you want to have children and how many children. Why would that happen? So everybody was a victim of some
conditioning.
Some conditioning. Yeah. And then that happened.
Sacrificing everything, like this defines that you're a good mother. So if you decide today, like I don't know, like I'm not a person, I love self-care, I love doing things for me, I love to have my own time, my space.
Right.
But then the day I get a news that I'm pregnant, everyone suddenly around expects me to like sacrifice everything, be the selfless person.
Right.
How can the change happen like overnight from the time she was? Is there like some sort of hormone that changes in your body that makes you feel ki, Arey, acha, now this hormone is there, so now you have to be this selfless person?
Okay. Too many aspects over here. One, again, where does it come from, you asked? Again, it comes from that same line of thought, that patriarchy, okay? Because it was his responsibility to go out and make money and provide. So he's a provider, provide for the family. Okay, it was her responsibility to nurture children and look after.
Yeah.
You know, again, that continued for centuries, right? Okay. Now, if she's in the house, then, you know, there is this concept that we call of working woman and non-working woman.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is a working woman? Or for that matter, who's a non-working woman?
Huh.
There is no non-working woman in this world. There never has been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me an example of one woman in any part of history who has never done any work.
No.
A woman has always been a 24 hours worker, wherever she is.
Yeah.
But somehow when she is working at home, a homemaker, because she's not earning money over there.
Yeah, I think
No,
it's
it
all
was-
identified with money.
So even today, when you say working woman, immediately you think of a woman who steps out of her house
Yeah.
and makes money.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but a stay-at-home mother or a stay-at-home woman she's a non-working woman. She's not non-working. For God's sake, she's working more than you still.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that she's at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the value of her work was never there.
Yeah.
It's not there today. It never was there earlier. You know, what she did in the house never had any value. Now, if my work has no value, then it's easy for the other person to tell me, give it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, uski value nahi hai, give it up. You know,
Right.
if I have a job of, you know, which gives me 2-3 lakhs per month,
Yeah.
I don't think that same argument will hold. 2-3 lakh hi to hai, give it up.
नहीं होगा. हाँ.
There is money coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when a woman's work never had any value, it's easy to tell her to give up.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, second part of your question, self-care.
हाँ.
But self-care क्यों? आप तो घर में ही हो.
Yeah.
You know?
क्या ज़रूरत है?
Yeah, self-care makes sense when you are newly married or you're just about to be married and you have to impress people and stuff, or you're
Yeah.
going out.
Yeah.
But if you're in the house, then what's self-care? Then child is your priority, and who else will look after the child? Because he's the provider.
Yeah.
His job is to go out and make money. You are in the house. You know, so it all comes from that same line of thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then that pressure to, you know, सबको खिला के बचा कुचा खाना ही गृहिणी. Yeah, we
That is
actually,
another- yeah.
this ad,
हाँ.
this campaign
Yeah.
was still running
Huh.
in 1980s. I grew up watching that. And
Okay.
anybody from my generation will identify, okay? Government actually had to run this campaign of please look after your body. You know, we had this ad where she's a pregnant woman and she serves food to the husband and son.
Okay.
And she doesn't eat with them. She's supposed to eat later.
हाँ.
Okay, so after they finish off, she sits to it and there's very little left.
Yeah.
So there is this voiceover which says, अब आपका क्या? And she says, मेरा क्या? And this famous dialogue, सबको खिलाकर बचा कुचा खाना ही गृहिणी का धर्म है, इसी में सच्चा सुख है.
Yeah.
No,
मतलब
इसी में
you're
सच्चा
ingraining that in everybody's mind.
हाँ, so a good woman and a good gृहिणी and a good mother is सबको खिला के जो बचा. And then we had the voiceover about what about the child which you're carrying.
हाँ.
You know, I mean, imagine as late as 1980s.
Yeah.
We had to run this campaign. We had to educate the women in the family. कि please take care of your health. You know,
Yeah.
you must also eat as much as you are serving.
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
So it was very deeply ingrained. Look at the media.
Yeah.
You know.
So the society is actually ingraining this in people's mind, right?
Yeah.
So how do?
And when I say
so
society, it's
change
women
that.
also. Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
It's not just, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of ingraining happens from everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, see how we judge other women.
हाँ.
See, if a man doesn't look after his children, we judge.
हाँ.
But if a woman doesn't look after her, you know, children, we judge more.
Yeah. ये तो कितनी बुरी माँ है. Like,
Yeah,
इतना
yeah,
कैसे बच्चे
yeah,
को नहीं
yeah,
ध्यान रख सकती.
yeah. See, a man is allowed to, you know, walk out on the family. I mean, yes, we don't accept it,
Yeah.
but हाँ, वो चला गया.
हाँ.
Woman is not allowed to walk out of her.
Yeah.
माँ होके छोड़ के गई.
Yeah.
Nobody says बाप होके छोड़ के गया.
Yeah.
See, so the pressure was always there because, you know, the idea was you produced. You
Yeah,
produced. So
yeah.
you're more responsible.
हाँ.
And his job is to go out and earn. It's your job to, you know. So you can't ignore them. He can.
So how do we change people's mind on this? Do we like need to in every room that we are there, we keep talking about this, and then people get
What we are
irritated?
doing
Yeah.
is it, you know,
This will-
this is one campaigning, and which we have been doing for last 2-3 decades. Okay, but again, why do we need to do it? It's not our responsibility to go about changing the whole world.
Yeah.
Unless we are activists and we want to.
Yeah.
Okay, ideal. But at individual level, it is not every woman's responsibility to change the mindset of the rest of the family.
Yeah.
No? Like I said, I still believe she has to be clear with her goals, and she has to be very honest with her partner, because it is a couple decision.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's not her responsibility to convince. You just say, and whether you like it or not and accept it or not is your problem. My personal opinion. Okay, it's not our job to convince the entire family and then the entire building and then the entire city. No, you can't go about doing that.
Yeah.
No, that's me.
I think it's going to harm you.
Yeah,
Nothing is going to come out of it.
Nothing is going to come out of it.
Yeah.
It's just not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, you expect me to produce, but I'm not ready to produce, and you better live with that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not my job. If that makes you uncomfortable, that's your problem.
Yeah.
It's not every woman's responsibility. But yes, this helps.
Yeah.
What we are doing right now, and similar kind of discussions and sessions helps the woman who is in a dilemma.
Yeah.
It helps her to, it provides clarity to her, and she understands that I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, misery loves company.
Yeah.
Right? So when I'm miserable, I feel it's my problem and I'm the only one and I created this problem.
Yeah.
But when you see this happening everywhere, you see these discussions, then you realize that I'm not the only one.
Yes.
No, others are also taking this decision. So it gives you a lot of support.
Yeah. And like you very rightly said that even females are the ones who judge female.
Bilkul.
Because when I started doing this, there were a lot of female who are mothers. They're
Yes.
like, what do you know about motherhood? Why are you doing this? And I was like, I really passionately think that every female should know what they are going through
Yes.
psychologically about it. And there are like so many different mothers, so many different females who are going through this confusion. Don't you think if you are already a new mother, you could help them?
Right.
And I really didn't have an answer at that time to give them. Yeah, okay, I'm not a mother, but why am I doing this?
Yeah,
I have this nurturing thing in me. Can't I just talk about it?
right.
Yeah.
Motherhood itself, in my opinion, is not just a biological act of producing a child. Okay, I very strongly feel that motherhood is a spectrum. Okay, there is something called as mothering.
Okay.
Mothering is looking after another individual like a mother would. Okay? So we have had examples of so many elder siblings who were mother surrogate to their younger ones. No, literally they have brought up their younger siblings like a mother would.
Yeah.
Right? We have so many, we have brought up our cousins, we have done that. We have had experience of mothering.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's the same thing. Looking after, taking care, protecting them, feeding them, nurturing them, loving them. Right?
Yeah.
So mothering is a far more broader concept compared to the biological act of becoming a mother. So yes, we may not have produced children of our own.
Yeah.
Which means we don't experience the physical changes which have gone in.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we lack emotional changes that comes with mothering.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have taken care of another human being for a considerable period of time, then you know what it is to be a mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because you have not physically produced doesn't mean. So, I mean, next time you're confronted, tell them that. Yes, I respect that biologically you are a mother, but I've gone through several years of mothering experience. Most of us have.
Yeah.
Even looking after people senior to us, even that is mothering.
Yeah.
Even
We
that
look after our parents also,
we do,
right?
we do. Sick people, disabled, we do.
Yeah.
That's mothering. Looking after your pets, that's mothering. Okay.
Yeah.
What about women who have gone ahead and come up with established anath ashrams for abandoned children?
Yeah.
They are a mother to 100, 200 children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Men, when single men are having babies of their own, that's still an act of mothering. They're still taking care of the child.
Yeah.
So biological reproduction is a very small aspect of motherhood. There's a lot more.
Yeah. A lot of fun is made when they say ki I'm a pet mother, or like I have a cat, I'm a cat mom, I'm a dog mom, dog dad, cat dad.
Yes.
A lot. They are like, you guys are like literally demeaning the meaning of motherhood. You guys don't deserve to say that you're mothers or fathers to a pet. What would you say about that?
I wouldn't know why that is a topic of ridicule. Because taking care is taking care, whether you're taking care of a human child or a, a non-human, an animal, bird, anything.
Yeah.
I think it requires the same amount of tolerance level, compassion, common sense.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
And to some extent compromise also, your time kind of a thing. Yeah. It's the same. I don't see any difference. I don't see any difference.
Okay.
I don't know why that is a topic of ridicule.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be. Shouldn't be.
Okay.
The same thing.
Yeah. It's not real and you're just like making it up.
Yeah.
And like you said, like natural preparedness you should have. Like
Yeah.
most of the times, whenever I ask any female, they're like, it's a very beautiful journey. Sab kuch acha hai. You feel good. That's the only thing that they give.
Yes.
And then once they give birth, it's like, you don't know about this. Nobody tells you this. Nobody tells you this. So I'm like, okay, can somebody tell me like beforehand what all is going to happen so that mentally I'm prepared. Even if it happens, I know ki theek hai. This is something I knew and I'm okay to go with this.
True. A lot of misconceptions persist. Okay, what I should eat. ये गरम है, वो ठंडा है. I can't eat this and I can't eat that, and ये खाने पीने से बच्चे गोरे आते हैं. All sorts of and beautiful आते हैं, and intelligent आते हैं. Huge amount of misconceptions. Okay, I wish kids were taught biology, and I wish kids studied biology more seriously in school, because many of these things are actually taught in school, at school level. But yes, for pregnant women, we now for last many decades, we have specialized classes, like Lamaze classes are just one of the example, but there are such which are designed to train a woman about the changes taking place in her body. And once that clarity is there, it's a support group where training is given by a gynecologist. Okay,
I didn't even know about this.
Yes, Lamaze is a person who Dr. Lamaze. He introduced it. The process is known as prepared natural childbirth. So it's still natural, but you're preparing her for it. Particularly, you're training her with muscle contraction and relaxation, which will help you during childbirth. Breathing exercises. Okay. Again, not that all this will make it completely painless, but her anxiety levels will go down. Okay. See, many times we experience physical pain due to injury or whatever. But what makes it unbearable is our anxiety. Will I die because of this? Will this become worse? That anxiety is what makes it more intolerable. Same with childbirth. Okay. So once she knows exactly what is happening at which stage, this is dilation happening, this is contraction happening, baby will come out and go in and come out and going before it is finally going to come out. Once a woman knows all that, then, that fear of unknown goes. You know exactly what is happening. And then she's more prepared for the process. She has already gone through the training of, exercising and taking care of her muscles. It becomes slightly more relaxed kind of a process. Pain rahega, but not all that bad.
Okay. Like, what reminds me is, most of the times pregnancy is celebrated a lot. You're pregnant and you're taken like the most care of during those 9 months, and everything is just you're just looked after as if you're like this queen and you feel like at the top of the world. But all of this is celebrated, but the moment the baby is out, if she is feeling not connected to the baby, that is not it's not celebrated. Or I mean celebrating is I think a wrong word, but she's not given that much attention. Why is not that being looked after? Even still it's not being looked after. It's like, अरे तो नाटक करिए, क्या है ये, कहीं से तो इंटरनेट से देख के आई है, and then you're just telling me this कि ये कुछ तो तुझे feel हो रहा है, but this literally doesn't exist. You girls are just making it up.
Yes, true. First part of the question, nothing wrong in celebrating, right? Pregnancy is definitely a beautiful experience. Okay, giving birth to another human being is definitely worth celebrating. So nothing wrong in celebrating. One reason why we have so many customs during pregnancy, at various months, you have various functions. All cultures, all societies, particularly for the first child. The whole idea behind that customs was to reduce her anxiety levels. Because once upon a time we had child marriages and a woman becomes a mother at a very young age. Right? And she used to be very confused, no support system, nobody to talk to. Okay? So imagine a girl who is 16, 17, 18. 100 years ago that was normal. Right? And then she's producing a child. Okay? So all these customs develop just to, reduce her anxiety level. So for her, pregnancy becomes, gehne penna, kapde penna, family comes, enjoy, party.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Even today you continue with that, nothing wrong with that. Okay.
So baby shower was actually started, this culture
One
started because of that?
of the reasons. One of the reasons. I mean, other reasons are just to celebrate.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's a beautiful occasion, no doubt about it. But a lot of reason why, and why do we do it only for the first child? Usually.
Yeah.
In most cultures, we do it for the first child, not for the remainder. Because it's the first pregnancy which is very anxiety-ridden.
Yeah.
Okay. Once you have already had one, then you know that anxiousness isn't there. Not so much.
Right.
Right. So in a lot of cultures, Godbara is only for the first child.
Okay.
You have an option of doing it for remaining ones.
Yeah.
But customarily, no.
Okay.
So the idea was to reduce her anxiety level and, bring about happiness and excitement and, like you said, treat her like a queen.
Yeah.
To some extent, she is special.
Yeah.
She is carrying another human being. Okay. She's doing something extraordinary, no doubt.
Yeah.
Postpartum depression, the second part of your question, which was overlooked up till now. Like you said, नाटक कर रही है, 2 किताब पढ़ ली तो, हमने इतने produce किए. A lot of women have even earlier gone through postpartum depression, but they never recognized it.
Yeah.
Society never recognized it. I think to some extent even the scientific community didn't recognize it.
Okay.
No, it's only very recently that we have started, taking it as a real problem. Because there are real changes taking place in her body. Her body has changed. Shapes and contours have changed. Okay. Hormonal changes, don't even ask. Playing havoc. Okay.
Yeah.
Plus for a young mother, just looking at this tiny bundle and then, I'm completely responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what to do. I don't know how to keep this crying baby quiet.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I sure I'm doing it right when I'm changing diapers?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I feeding baby right? Is the quantity enough? Is the quality enough? No, it can be very overwhelming. But that applies to when you're taking care of anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're taking care of a sick family member, you're going to be equally anxious.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I doing the right thing? Am I giving them the right amount of food? Am I giving them the right dose of medicine? Anxiety rahega.
Yeah.
More so over here because you produced.
Yeah.
You are responsible.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't have support system, then it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and having a newborn baby also means not getting enough sleep for your own body, your own rest, not getting time for yourself at all, at least in the initial stages till the baby, gets used to your sleep-wake cycle.
Yeah.
So it can be very overwhelming for a new mother. And it's not surprising that she will experience some symptoms.
Yeah.
Maybe not full-fledged postpartum depression, but anxiety to rahega. And that's why it is very necessary that in the initial days, she needs social support. That's the reason why now we have started giving paternity leaves.
Yeah.
Imagine having your partner with you.
Yeah.
We recognize the need that he should be around.
Yes.
The whole concept of paternity need came because we started recognizing that she needs help.
Someone. Yeah.
She needs help.
Yeah.
Emotionally, if not anything else.
Yeah.
She needs somebody. She needs somebody to cry.
Yeah.
On the, I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
She needs to break down. And she needs that. But it is real. It is real. It is real. Best is to recognize it and deal with it.
Yeah.
Just sweeping it below the carpet won't help.
Yeah.
You're not doing any good. Because it will remain, that anxiety will remain and it will come out in different forms.
Yeah.
Which could be serious then for the child.
Yeah.
You shouldn't start, a woman shouldn't start, sort of hating her child for producing, because that happens. We have seen, rare of course, but we have seen women killing their own children, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you somehow, start looking at that child as a source of all your misery.
Yeah.
And women have done that. So you shouldn't resent your child.
Yeah.
So best is to recognize.
Yeah.
To some extent, this can be done by a gynecologist,
Okay.
If they could just spend a little more minutes with the family, during their consultation and train the family, that please expect this after the childbirth. When a doctor says that, it makes a big difference. When a woman says that, like you said, trivia.
Yeah.
नाटक करती है. But when a doctor says, नहीं, doctor साहब ने पहले ही बोला था. I wish gynecologist, I'm sure they do that. I'm sure they do. But if they take it that seriously and, they educate the family, perhaps,
make a lot of difference.
It will.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, I don't know if they're already doing it. They may be already doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, I think the family is prepared. They know that we can expect such a thing.
So this expectation of like if there are most of the times if I say ki, okay, I want to be a mother but in the coming years, but then I say I'm confused. They're like, how can you be confused when you know you want to have a baby? Then have it right now. What's the confusion? Why do you want to wait for that long?
Right.
What's stopping you? You're just being too selfish right now.
Right.
How do we deal with that? Like, even if I decide, even if I'm pregnant today, can I not be confused?
Of course you can be confused. But it's too late, isn't it, if you're already pregnant? Right.
But I can have this confusion of this fear, right? Like, I'm like really scared about what's going to happen. Is there going to be pain? They're like, no, you should not have that feelings at all.
Oh,
After
no.
You want to be a mother, then you cannot have these thoughts.
No. Anxiety will always be there, right? But that applies to every situation in life. You know, when you take admission for a new course, you know, you had goals. Okay, this course will take me there. But still a student will go through anxiety now. Will this course really give me those skills? Will I actually get a job? Now, we all went through that during our study period, right? Okay. So, when you're starting any new venture in life, that question of, have I taken the right decision? And will it give me what I'm expecting? You know, is always there. So, same with a mother. Why should that be any different? Why should that be any different? You know, you buy a new house, you buy a new car. That one nagging thought is always, was it the right decision? Was it too hasty? Did I go over budget? Is the location correct? We all have those doubts now with our decisions. So with her, only thing with her, it is too permanent a decision. You can't go. See, I buy a house and if I have doubts, I can always sell it. I can't do that with my child, right? So obviously her anxiety levels are far more greater than anybody else. No doubt about it, right? If she is confused, what is important is for her to understand the reason. Is she confused about her own skills as a mother? Because there is no manual which tells you how to be a wife and how to be a husband. Just like there is no manual which tells you how to be a brother, sister. You just learn. Same with mother and father. You just learn, you know. Every day you learn new things. And then you learn from others. Okay, there is no fixed set pattern. Right. So, is she confused about her skills of raising the baby? Is she worried about physical changes that her body will produce? Is she worried about reduced opportunities for progress? Is that her worry? That having a baby is now, you know, somehow going to reduce my professional career journey, reduce the opportunities? Is she worried about the lack of affection from her partner? Okay, will the affection, will the affection will now be divided between me and the child? Will I get the same affection? One very big worry is, now my body has changed. Will my partner still find me equally attractive physically? One very big worry which very few people talk about is, will this have an impact on my sexual relations, my sexual life? Because again, my body has changed. Am I now sexually attractive to my partner? You know, these are challenges. She is going through it. So it is very important for her to have a self-talk. You know, journaling helps. Write down. What are the doubts? And if possible, discuss with someone. Worst comes to worst, go to a mental health professional. But air it out. You know, talk it out. And once she is clear about where my anxiety comes from, then you can deal with it.
So like, how can I identify these problems? Like you're saying journaling, is that
self-talk? Self-talk. So, what are the 5 things that I'm most worried about? Then write down those 5 things. What are the 10 things that I'm most worried about? Write down those 10 things. Once you write down a list of things you're worried about, then scale them priority basis. Out of these 10 things which I'm scared of, what is that one which I'm most scared of? And second most and third most. No, and then deal accordingly. Out of the scale of those 10 lists, there may be 1 or 2 which may not really be a major worry. You know, the moment you write down, you realize, no, this is something I can deal. When you have a self-talk itself, that things become clear. And then you know, out of the 10 things that I was worried about, the actual attention needs to be paid to just first 3. So then find out who can help you. You know, talk it out in your family, with your friends, support system, you know, somebody you trust. your teachers, your relatives, mental health professional, whoever you trust, the woman can go and, now there is media platforms.
Yeah.
She can air her concerns on appropriate
Yeah.
platforms, and, people will guide her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she can air. But she has to know what her
what's
confusion.
troubling her.
Ah. That only she can find out.
Yeah.
See,
But sometimes it also happens that I don't know what's troubling me.
That is where writing down helps. When you put pen to paper, thoughts become clear.
Okay.
Always. Okay. But yes, even then you might just put pen to paper and be on a dot, you don't go, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe a mental health professional, if she feels there is a need.
Okay.
We'll try to bring in clarity. Yes.
Okay. And like, what happens when a woman's identity sense of being a working profession, whatever she was, and then it changes to only being a mother? What happens mentally with her?
Yeah, okay. Now, if she has been a working professional, then this is definitely a very thought out decision she has made. Discuss that with herself, partner, family, okay? She knows the timing is right, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why she has taken this decision. So, I'm also assuming she would also take precautions and preventions.
Okay.
And preparations. Okay? She knows that this will probably bring a break in my professional career. Okay? आज के ज़माने में maybe not a big break if it is possible for her to work from home.
Yeah.
Then very quickly she can, join back. Just a small break will do. But if she...
Isme, like, just coming to, sorry for
no,
interrupting
no.
you, but this is also like, if suppose a female after giving birth, she decides to come after 6 months, उसमें भी they are like, अरे इतना time क्यों लगा है? And some people will be like, अरे इतनी जल्दी क्यों आ गई? Again,
it is relative.
About your motherhood thing, about how much do you care for the baby.
Yes,
so
yes.
how do you tackle that? Why is this question coming up?
It is always her decision. It is always her decision. A lot of institutions, if I'm not wrong, central government institutions now give 6 months maternity leave.
Okay.
The fact that government institutions are giving 6 months maternity leave is they recognize the need for that period. Okay?
Yeah.
Her body needs rest.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Her body needs rest. Maybe not 6 months, but definitely first 2-3 months,
Yeah.
to come back to baseline normal level. Okay? She definitely needs to be with her child, not just for feeding purpose. That can be taken care of even without her. She can save her milk. Okay. But that emotional bonding, the physical bonding, she needs to be there.
Yeah.
And if her job provides her that luxury, why not?
Yeah.
If your job is giving you that, why not? Okay. In any case, the decision should entirely be hers. She's the best judge. She's the best judge of, is my body now ready to go out and, resume my work? Am I emotionally ready to leave my baby in somebody's care? Do I trust that caretaker?
Yes.
Okay, it has to be entirely her decision. But like I said, if she is a working professional, then these are questions she has already struggled with even before she conceived. I would assume.
Yeah.
I would assume, right? She has already made arrangements. Okay. She doesn't know the changes that her body will go through. That decision will come later. Okay. But who will look after the baby? And do I trust that person? And what are the other? Do I go in for a part-time job so that I'm just out for a few hours and come back again?
Yeah.
Will my institution allow me to carry my baby? Some do.
Okay.
Okay. They have this creche.
Yeah,
Okay. They allow you to carry, right? So all this is something she has already thought of. If she hasn't, ideally she should.
Okay.
Ideally, she should have.
Yeah.
Again, nothing wrong if a woman wants to take a long break. She decides to go in for a break for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's her decision.
Yeah.
It's a financial aspect aside.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a big aspect. If she is someone who is really forced to work and bring in money financially, then I don't think she has much choice.
Yeah.
Then she, irrespective of everything and all the confusion, she has no option. She just has to step out and make money.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if finances are taken care of and she has a little luxury, then she can be her own judge.
Yeah.
She can take a break. Luckily now, most professions, you can take a break and pick up from where you left. It's not really leaving, a lasting, it's not damaging your growth. Okay. Except that you miss out on 1 or 2 years. But you're not damaging your growth.
Okay.
Most
I
professions.
think previously that was the
That
concern.
was happening. That was, But now it doesn't impact your promotions and stuff like that.
Okay.
No? Because if you were sincere and hardworking and skillful earlier, you're still going to be skillful and hardworking and sincere.
Yeah.
And if you weren't good earlier, you're not going to be good now.
Yeah.
your professional capacities don't change, right?
Right.
So if she was anyway in for somebody who will anyway grow, she will grow.
Yeah.
No matter how big the break is. I mean,
There are different, like we've been discussing, motherhood it's a spectrum. There can be different kinds and types of motherhood. Why is adoption still seen as like a last resort after you have tried IVF, you've tried, I don't know, like 2-3 different types of methods, and then you're like, nahi, chalo, nothing is happening, let me adopt someone.
Yeah, okay.
Why is that still seen as a last resort?
Okay, one, before we go into that, I'm very happy to see that this, reservation towards adoption is slowly fading away, at least in urban centers.
Okay.
Mindsets are changing and changing largely, drastically, even with senior generation.
Okay.
So even the prospective grandparents are okay with adoption. I've seen happy kind of, that acceptance. Okay. So I'm very glad with that. That said, once again, going back to our story of 10,000 years ago, it all boils down from there. See, when you have this system of man is a provider and woman is a, birth giver and nourisher, right? Then the whole idea of who am I working hard for and saving money for to pass it on, right? So my zameen, my dukan, my makan has to go to whom? My offspring. Right. And that's where this reservation comes in. That's where the bloodline. Then much later, of course, we develop religions and we develop caste systems. So that whole idea and importance given to bloodline became even more stronger. Because my religion, my caste, my blood, my family, my khandan, my money. So it's not very surprising that people had reservations, because adoption is, I don't know which child. And particularly if you are talking about all these aspects. Caste, I don't know. Religion, I don't know,
And especially bloodline.
I don't know.
Blood is a very... Everybody has the same blood. Why are we still fighting over isi khoon ka chahiye?
Fabulous question. If only we all understood this, all the wars would stop in one day. All the wars all over the world would stop in one day, right? But no, that doesn't happen. It's blood, my family name. Okay? Trust me, a large majority of the people don't know full names of their grandparents. Okay? And we fight so much to protect family name. Which family name? You don't even know the full name of your own grandpa and grandma. Right? So reality is very different. But again, conditioning, So this whole reservation came from, why should all my accumulated wealth go to somebody else?
Right.
Whole thing is that.
Right.
Okay. See, in many society, when we were, before agriculture, when we were hunter-gatherers, we didn't own anything.
Right.
So there never was a problem of passing it on to anybody. So we didn't need this mera bacha, mera bloodline. No. Human beings lived in group. They produced in group. It didn't matter whose child it is. Mother was fixed because you can see she produced a child, but we never knew who the father was in that group. Thousands of years ago, right? And it didn't matter. It didn't matter to all the men because anyway he's not passing down anything. It's a forest. Okay. This whole thing comes when ownership comes in. So, मेरे family के गहने, मेरे family का जायदाद, मेरे family का bank balance, why should I give it to somebody else? And then that is where also we had this, it still happens to some extent, where couples went in for adoption, but they didn't declare it. So they didn't even declare it to their immediate family. So like for example, they would say things like, outstation promotion मिला है तो हम 2 साल के लिए चले जाते हैं. So they would go away somewhere, adopt a child, come back with a child, and from there they announce, we took some treatment over here from a doctor, I got pregnant and this is my child. And they would hide it from their immediate family also, because they knew the resentment. Affection come ho jayega and stuff like that. So that reservation, but in urban cities at least that stigma is now going. I'm happy about it. But I strongly suggest that if you don't, if you're not a nurturing type, strong nurturing instincts, and you think you are incapable of loving another's child, then never go in for it. You should go in for it if you feel you're able to love. Because the whole world doesn't know, you know. You know this is not your child. You know it is somebody's child. And if you're adopting, then you're taking a very big lifelong decision. You can't adopt and then have second thoughts about, I don't really love. Not
Yeah.
looking like me. Obviously not looking like you.
Yeah.
So the couple has to be extremely sure,
Yeah.
more than 100% sure.
Yeah.
No, are you able to love? It's, we all love our children.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily, but to a large extent, it's easy to love your child. It's very difficult to love somebody else's child. So unless you're very sure of it, just because you want to become a parent and tick that checkbox.
Yeah, and you also have to have like a very thick skin, right? Because if you know that the child is not looking like you, but the world will also make you feel and ask you questions that it's not looking like you.
Bilkul. Although the process is, they try to streamline. The adoption agencies try to streamline, and usually they try to give you a child which matches with your skin tone and stuff like that. To a
That
large
does happen?
Oh, yeah.
I had
If you
no idea about
if you go through a very proper adoption agencies, then it's a very long process, and they try to. I've worked in one such agency for a brief period, so I know. They try to a large extent. I mean, if both the parents are extremely dark skinned, they will not give them a very, very fair child.
Yeah.
It's so obvious.
Yeah.
No? There are exceptions वगैरह होता है, but as far as possible we try to.
But it's still not easy, right? Like if I want
never
to
easy.
adopt, it's not easy adopting these days. Like people see it as a last resort कि अरे हाँ adoption तो क्या ऐसे ही बच्चा मिल जाएगा. India की population कितनी है? You're easily going to get a kid, and which is not true.
All that is okay. All that argument coming from others is okay.
Haan.
I'm more worried about the couple themselves. The reasons for them to adopt. Are you adopting simply because you want to do away with the stigma of being a childless couple? That is a wrong reason to adopt,
Yeah.
मुझे लोग बांझ कह रहे हैं तो बच्चा अडॉप्ट कर लूंगी तो बांझ नहीं कहलाऊंगी एंड आई विल गेट रिस्पेक्ट इन सोसाइटी एंड अब फ्रेंड्स की गोद भराई में मैं भी जा सकूंगी क्योंकि अब मैं भी माँ हूँ. Are you just doing it to get that status of a parenthood? That's, I don't think, is the right reason. My personal opinion again, but you should adopt a child when you strongly have a nurturing instinct and you strongly feel that I want to bring up a human being.
Yeah.
So if I can't produce, then I'll bring up another human being.
Yeah.
But I want to do it.
Yeah.
That's the right reason. Not just to tick a checkbox के सबके मुंह बंद हो जाएंगे.
Yeah.
सब बोलते रहते हैं अभी अपना बच्चा आ जाएगा तो no.
Yeah.
You don't adopt a child, just like you don't produce a child for others.
Yeah.
Same way you don't adopt a child.
I mean, some of them do, like
lot many
just
do.
because people are saying that my
lot
marriage
many
is
do.
not working. They're saying कि आप बच्चा कर लो तो your marriage will be successful, which I have seen most of the times it's gone to ruins. Like why they're like, why did I have a kid? People told me that it's going to solve my marriage
No, it
issues, but
doesn't.
it does. How can
You are producing a child, not a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Misconception. The thing is, what happens is when a child is involved, then one, the couple will be little hesitant in taking hasty decisions. You don't just pack your bags and walk away because there is a child involved. So you become slightly more responsible. You try to work little more harder in searching for ways.
Okay.
But all this is successful when your marriage is at a stage where it can still be saved.
Yeah.
But if you have already crossed that stage and you are just not compatible and just not happy living with each other, then child or no child, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You may stay back. You may stay back for the sake of the child, but what sort of a marriage are you having?
Yeah.
No, it's going to be a very sad, very violent, possibly abusive marriage, and children are growing up in that.
With that, yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Having a child can save your marriage only if it is still savable.
Okay.
But that is a very wrong reason to have a child.
Yeah.
No, first sort out your problems. If you think you have problems, sort it out. Children should be the last, not even a last resort.
They should not be an option.
It should not be an option at all.
You should solve it on your own.
And in fact, don't have a child at all.
Yeah.
The wise thing to do is postpone pregnancy.
Yeah.
No, because wait and watch. If you can't solve your problems in the next 2 years, and after 2 years also, if you feel that I don't want to live with this person, don't.
Because
Move
I
away.
think eventually giving trauma to the kid.
Absolutely.
Why did you bring a kid?
And you're resenting, and then the couples use children to take revenge with each other.
Oh.
They do that. Yeah, very common. Yeah. Visit any family court where divorces are going on and you'll see this.
Okay.
Yeah, couples use children.
Okay.
And then children grow up with the guilt and trauma of मेरी वजह से मम्मी डैडी में problem हुआ. It's the other way around. But they grew up with that trauma, because they make the child believe.
Yeah.
See, if I don't like my partner, then I have already exhausted all possible arguments with that partner.
Yes.
Now what is left to complain and crib about? Child. So you do something, I ask the child to do exact opposite. बच्चा खेलने जाएगा, नहीं बच्चा खेलने नहीं जाएगा. Sort of thing. So every argument begins and ends with the child's activity.
Yeah.
And child sees that. So the child grows up believing मेरी वजह से मम्मी डैडी में झगड़े होते हैं. It's not that. मम्मी डैडी में झगड़े आपके बगैर भी हो रहे थे. So child grows up with unnecessary guilt and trauma.
Yeah.
And eventually the couple will separate out.
Yeah.
They will.
No, or maybe sometimes I've even seen like old couples, they still keep on fighting and the kid is like, I'm just used to it now. Like, what do I do?
Which is so sad.
Yeah.
Absolutely sad, no?
Yeah.
Having a child to solve marital disputes, miserable option.
Yeah.
Not an option at all.
And if you see, in like while we were growing up, most of them we had like a joint family. We all family used to live together, and then later on, people for education, work opportunities, they started getting out of their houses.
Yes.
But still, our generation, we've seen that their family living together, and during festivals and occasions, all of them are living under one roof.
Right.
And we've seen our mothers go through a lot of sacrifices, a lot of trauma that they have been through, that because they didn't speak at that time, but we could see as kids that they're going through a lot, and they didn't say anything.
Yes.
So while I was growing up, I could see all of that. Or even when I discuss it with my friends, they're like, yeah, I've seen my mom doing that. I don't think I'm ready to go through this sacrifice thing. I don't want to go through this trauma. How does this generational trauma affect a girl's decision to get to becoming pregnant or to like give birth?
Other way around, because I've taught for so many years, and a lot of my girl students have told me this, okay, we have seen our mothers, being victims of domestic abuse, and father doesn't respect, and they have no freedom of choice and stuff like that. I've seen so many happy and sad stories. I've seen happy stories where these girls, they grew up, and when they were slightly more capable and financially independent and all, they realized their mothers were actually very talented, stuff like food making or something like that, or embroidery or handicrafts or painting, and which was lost and forgotten. These girls forced and encouraged them and got it organized and made their mothers into entrepreneurs. I've seen that, that they instill that idea and confidence into the woman that this is not just शौक के लिए कर रहे. This is what you are. This is your identity. And I've seen a lot of my students helping their mothers, grow and blossom. Years later. Lovely. I have had a lot of girl students coming to me and telling me about what you just said, how our mothers are being treated, and we don't want to be treated like that at all. And in fact, a lot of girl students, looked up to me as a role model, we want to be like you, fiercely independent and strong, and I'm glad I could do that for them, right? All said and done, education is the only way to walk out of this, cycle of torture. Okay, there is no other way. Once you allow a girl to educate herself, and and you allow a girl to think for herself, then there is no stopping her. That's where this cycle, this generational trauma which you were talking of, will stop. There is no other way. No, you have to. Education is more important for a girl child than anybody else. It helps the entire family. That's the only way she is going to break this generational trauma, and she will not repeat the mistakes that her mother was subjected to. She'll be more financially. Once you're financially independent now, it gives you a lot of confidence to live your life the way you want to. It's very, very difficult to be dependent on somebody and then say, I'll live my life the way I want to. Very difficult. Possible, but very difficult. And how does a girl become financially independent? Education. It all boils down to that. That's the only way to break this generational domestic violence and abuse, and then she is capable of, I want to marry, don't want to marry, have a child, not have a child, all that follows.
But then it also boils down to people in today's generation saying, क्योंकि लड़कियों को इतना पढ़ा रहे और इतना education you're giving them, that's the reason why बिगड़ेल हो गई है लड़कियाँ. They are taking decisions of marriage and bacha. Like, I don't think they should have this
Because
right.
girls evolved, society didn't evolve.
Yeah.
There's a problem. See, when I am in a position to pass judgment, it means I am already in a superior position.
Right.
I'm sitting on some high throne passing judgments.
Right.
Okay. When you become more educated and more capable and you take your decisions, you stop listening to me. You are challenging my authority. And I resent that.
Yep.
And then what do I say? Bigde hue. It's my resentment, It's, I know that meri kursi hil rahi hai.
Yeah.
So that's what happens with society as a whole. Yeah. The moment a woman starts taking decisions for herself, she's not going to listen to your diktats. Particularly if it doesn't agree with her, philosophy of life.
Yeah.
If it does, she will. But if it doesn't, she won't. She's going to break all those chains that you are trying to tie her down with.
Yeah.
But that is also challenge to your authority. Nobody likes challenge to authority. If I've enjoyed that authority, I'm not going to like it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to suddenly like a woman who was tied in chains is now flying.
Yeah.
I am going to resent her wings.
Yeah.
And those wings have come to her from education. So you resent female education then.
Yeah.
Because as long as she was in chain, she was my slave. So that's bound to happen.
Yeah.
That's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Society will take some more time to evolve. Women have already evolved and moved ahead. And I'm glad they are.
Yeah.
Let them fly.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll fly away so far, they'll leave this, dogmatic society behind. Yeah. Society will take some time to adjust to women's progress and her freedom of choice. इतनी centuries का conditioning है, time लगेगा. It'll eventually happen. It will happen.
Like reporting, is a good sign, and it's not a taboo anymore.
Yeah. The fact that more women are coming out and that Me Too movement also, and during Me Too movement, we had women coming out and talking about the trauma that they went through 10 years ago, and there was that very obvious question of what made you keep quiet.
Yes.
Perhaps 10 years ago, the taboo was still very strong.
Yeah.
Okay, she didn't have the kind of support system. Okay, maybe social media came in later.
Yeah.
And that gave her the courage, to speak up. So there are hazard factors. Point is not that why now. The point is she is actually talking about it.
Yeah.
Because irrespective of how many years have passed, when a woman is talking about and declaring that I have been abused, sexually abused, which is still such a huge taboo.
Yeah.
It's courageous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely courageous.
Yeah.
All right. And again, one more pros of social media that gave her the courage. When 50 people are talking, it gives me the courage to open up about my own trauma. Right? Yeah. Like I said, beautiful time for having a girl child. And coming back to what you said, I'd rather have a boy child and raise him well.
Yeah.
First, we don't have a choice, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That goes without saying. We don't have a choice. But irrespective, whether it is a girl child or a boy child that we'll have, a girl will be safe only when we raise our boys well.
Yeah.
Okay? There is no point in curbing her freedom.
Yeah.
No, there's no point in chaining her down for her safety. That's a very wrong way to deal with any human being. Ideally, a girl should grow up in a society where she's not scared. I remember one very, very popular film star gave an interview.
Okay.
This was immediately after that series of serial rape cases which were reported,
Okay.
Delhi rape case and stuff like that. So there was a lot of discussion happening. And this film star has a son and a daughter both.
Okay.
And he was, I think, asked that you are enrolling your daughter and you are teaching your daughter martial arts. So, for her safety, which is a very good thing. And is that the message you're trying to pass on to the rest of the society? Should every girl learn safety? He said, yes, I'm teaching her martial arts. But ideally, I don't want my daughter to learn martial arts. And I don't want any girl child in the society to learn.
Yeah.
She can learn it as an art.
Yeah.
Not to protect herself.
Yeah.
I want my daughter to grow up in a society where she doesn't have to fight for her safety. Where she feels safe to walk alone on any road at middle of the night.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to train herself to fight off.
Yeah.
And that's where the role of a boy comes in.
Definitely.
We need to sensitize our boys, towards this whole issue.
Yeah.
Just empowering girls is not going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right? I conduct a lot of workshops, etc. And I'm very uncomfortable when I go to institutes where, they only have girl students. And then they ask me to give a lecture on these kind of topics.
Yeah.
I said, but they already know about it. They're girls.
Yeah.
We need boys. No, madam, but we are also going to discuss so many taboo topics. I said, that's exactly the why we need male students.
Wow,
Who's
yeah.
going to educate them?
Yeah.
Who's going to tell them? Who's
It's
going
so
to tell?
nicely to put it actually that we
Yes.
need boys in these sessions rather than girls.
She already knows what good touch, bad touch is.
Yeah.
I need to tell the boy that. She
Yeah.
already knows what is appropriate and not. He needs to know that. Okay? In a crowded place, if she's carrying a purse over here, she knows why she's carrying.
Yeah.
He needs to understand why.
Yeah. Yeah.
He needs to understand how, from his side, a simple comment can make her uncomfortable and how to find out if it has made her uncomfortable. It's a man who needs to be taught,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So these workshops should be actually done for boys rather than
And
girls.
I prefer both of them sitting together.
Yeah.
Unless that dialogue comes up,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. How do you understand another person if you're cooked up in your own two separate sections?
Yeah, yeah.
There has to be a dialogue. And some institutes still have this, they feel uncomfortable. I insist. When I go, I insist I want both of them together.
Wow.
I do it.
And very gutsy.
Yeah, absolutely. I put my foot down.
So, like, I always have this question, like, between, and most of the girls that I discuss this with, that between my growing career and motherhood, how would I know that I'm ready? Like, what questions can I ask myself to know that, okay, I am ready for motherhood?
I am ready for motherhood actually has to be a joint decision with the partner, if there is a partner. I mean, if she's a single mother, of course, but whoever her support system is, right? It is always a joint decision. I believe the decision, one, would depend on finances. It's a huge financial strain. So are we ready financially? Age-wise, are we ready?
Yeah.
Or do we still have the luxury of age? Considering the biological, age is very limited. Okay. Are we okay postponing it? But if you are postponing it, then are we prepared for late pregnancy and late bringing up child?
Yeah.
Again, I repeat, motherhood is not just a biological act of producing a child.
Yeah.
It's also bringing up a child
Yes.
who's going to be dependent on you for at least 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
I think the tough part is actually bringing up and not
always
deciding whether
Yes.
I want to be a mother.
So
or not.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the decision is based on that. How prepared are we in bringing up a child? Are we prepared to, sit with the child every day and complete the homework of that child?
Do you think people think that much?
They should, ideally, if you're becoming a parent. It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I hope they do. I'm hoping they do. Because that's what it is, right? What are my office timings? What are your office timings? And how much time will I give to my child every day? Okay. What will be our rules regarding TV watching, mobile? All of it. These are small decisions, but these need to be considered. Support systems.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, every 2 months we have vacations. Will we be able to do that after the child is born?
Yeah.
And are we okay if we don't do it?
Yeah.
If financially we are not very comfortable, then perhaps we'll have to cut down on our luxuries to provide. Because see, when it's a choice of me buying a luxury bag and children's school fees, then obviously school fee will take priority, right?
Yeah.
Right? So all these are decisions you have to, bringing a child in the world will involve all these decisions.
Yeah.
The couple has to discuss. I hope they are discussing.
Yeah.
I hope it's just not another ritual,
Yeah.
Shadi ho gayi, so now one more ritual and produce a child.
Yeah.
I hope they are doing it sensibly. But I think even if they don't discuss all these nitty-gritties, I'm sure, it just, you go with the flow kind of a thing. You learn.
Yeah.
So
if you could just help us give a set of few questions that maybe, if I answer this, maybe I won't get the answers.
Yeah.
But at least I know where to start from.
Set the thinking process.
Yeah.
One, always be very clear with your finances. Okay?
Yeah.
Educating a child is a huge financial strain.
Yeah.
Good education is always expensive.
Because I think fee that is increasing every year. in
So
every
good
college.
education, there's no point in having producing a child and then not providing. Education is the basic minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, finances, you have to be very clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Time management. Okay. That has to be very clear. Living arrangement.
Okay.
Right. So, are you going to move in? I mean, if you're a nuclear family, if you already have senior parents living with you, then it's a done thing. You know. But if you're not, then what are the living arrangements going to be? Are you going to invite some relative? Is one of you going to stay at home? You know, interns.
Yeah.
Is one of you going to work from home, or are you going to be comfortable with creche? No, all of that. So that decision has to be taken. Is it somewhere close by?
Yeah.
Right. All other changes that which will take place, sleeping timing and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
At least these basic questions you have to be clear. At least to some extent clarity honi chahiye, if not fully clear. Starting with finance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And physically, are you ready to exert that much?
Yeah.
It's running around with a child is a physically
Exerting job.
Exerting job. It's an exerting job. Are you ready for all that? Sleepless nights and all of that.
Yeah.
And emotionally, are you a nurturing kind? Do you really have it in you to bring up a child? It's not about ek din bachcha paida hua, us din celebration hua. Because your life begins as a parent after that day.
Yeah.
That first day is going to be a memorable day in your life. Uske baad, every day to day grinding.
Yeah.
Are you
How
up
do
to
I
it?
know if I'm like emotionally ready? Like I feel I am a nurturing person. Do you think therapy will help me with that, or just
Just look at your behavior, the way you behave with others. Are you in general a caring, loving, compassionate type? Do you qualify? Do you call yourself? The way you treat your servants, or the way you treat your neighbors, your friends, your parents. Everybody,
Yeah.
If to a large extent, if you think I'm a loving, tolerant, compassionate type, most of the time, nobody is like that always, but most of the time, tolerance levels, I'm slightly more forgiving, then you are a safe bet for parenthood.
Okay.
That should give you a clue.
Okay. We've discussed like a lot of different topics and a lot of questions and confusions around motherhood. Is there something that we've not covered and you would like to talk about that in particular?
Yeah, okay. Two things. One, motherhood undoubtedly is a beautiful experience, okay. To some extent, it is almost divine, okay. Giving birth is a privilege, and women should be proud that she's been granted that privilege by nature. That said, let's not put her up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Okay, because the moment you put anybody on a pedestal, you're also restricting their freedom.
Yeah.
Because when I am on that level, then there are so many things I can't do.
Yeah.
And your freedom of choice is totally restricted. And that's what we have done. That's what media has done. That's what, stereotypes have done. Ma. Yes, she's ma and she's worth, emulating and respecting and even worshipping.
Yeah.
Glorify.
Yeah.
Okay, but she's still a woman. Okay, her primary identity is still a woman.
Yeah.
Right? So let's not, she has done something wonderful. She has brought a child into this world. But let's not put her on a pedestal. Give her the freedom of choice like everybody else is.
Yeah.
Let us not make motherhood her chain, which ties her down.
Yeah.
That we shouldn't. And secondly, let us not restrict mothering to just a woman who gives birth to a child. Mothering is a vast experience.
Yeah.
Okay, and to a large extent, all of us are mothers in a way, because at some point of time we have or we will take care of another human being exactly the way a mother does.
Yeah.
Right? Including men.
Yeah.
So it's a wider experience. She's just physically, embodiment of it. But mothering is something that men have also experienced.
Yeah.
And let's recognize that. Let's recognize and respect that too. Right? What good that will do is, it will try to, normalize this whole glorified motherhood. Once you normalize it, instead of, divinity, you normalize it, na? Then all these problems of बच्चे को छोड़ के काम पे कैसे जाएंगे and am I a bad mother if I'm thinking about my career, all that vanishes, because then you have normalized it.
Yeah.
But when you deify something, उनको pedestal पे रख दो, then the guilt comes in.
That's where the guilt is actually
coming in.
Okay.
But you normalize it. It's a part of life, just like everything else was. So growing up and is a part of life. Graying is a part of life. Wrinkles are a part of life. Motherhood is a part of life. Parenthood is a
Yeah.
part of life,
Yeah.
for that matter. Why just motherhood?
Huh. Huh.
So then the guilt associated with everything else that you do reduces. Normalize it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Enjoyed.
Yes.
Thank you for having me over.
Thank you.